Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Mark Lynn. Namaskar. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. The fugitive businessman Mehul Choksi is apprehended in Belgium on India's extradition request. The government welcomes his arrest. European markets are in the green as Trump suggests Chinese tariff exemption might be short-lived. Asian markets too trade higher. Donald Trump calls Russian strike on Ukraine's Sumy horrible thing, mistake. Zelenskyy urges Trump to visit Ukraine, and this is ahead of a deal with Russia. And the pop star Katy Perry and 5 others make a historic all-female Blue Origin space flight. Global markets have been surging on Monday as concerns over Donald Trump, the President of the United States, trade war were eased by tariff exemptions on key electronic products like smartphones, laptops and semiconductors. However, European indices jumped around 2% in midday deals following last week's roller coaster for equities as the United States and China exchanged tit-for-tat levies. That tracked gains in Asia, with tech firms also helping push Hong Kong up more than 2%, and Tokyo and Shanghai also closed higher. Uncertainty over the US trade policy weighed on the dollar, which extended losses against major global currencies. In fact, the euro has reached a 3-year high against the dollar, and the Swiss franc has climbed to its strongest level in a decade. And this decline in the dollar has helped gold also hit a fresh record high. The US President Donald Trump has intensified his trade war with China, and he has warned of no exemptions on tariffs. He's reiterated that these electronic exemptions, they are temporary. All this is leading to the escalation of the economic impacts globally.
In a fiery message on Truth Social, Trump retaliated that the exemptions, which were seen as a break for tech giants like Apple and Dell, will be temporary. He added that the US is focusing on a national security trade investigation into key industries like semiconductors and electronics. Trump said he will be announcing the tariff rate on imported semiconductors over the next week.
The tariffs will be in place in the not distant future because, as you know, like we did with steel, like we did with automobiles, like we did with aluminum, which are now fully on, we'll be doing that with semiconductors, with chips, and numerous other things, and that'll take place in the very near future.
In an interview with the US media network, White House trade advisor Peter Navarro said that US has opened an invitation to China to negotiate, but criticized its role in the fentanyl supply chain. He also mentioned that China was not included in talks with 7 other entities: the UK, EU, India, Japan, South Korea, Indonesia, and Israel. Critical technology products from China would face separate new duties along with semiconductors within the next 2 months.
Remember, those products are going to be part of the semiconductor sectoral tariffs, which are coming. So you're going to see this week there'll be a register in the Federal Registry. There'll be a notice put out. That is different types of work. So we're going to do that. We did that in autos. The president's going to do it for pharmaceuticals, and he's going to do it for semiconductors.
Tariffs tango has hit the global markets rather hard. The S&P 500 index is down more than 10% since Trump took office, with analysts warning of a potential recession. With tensions high and markets on the edge, the trade war between the US and China shows no signs of abating, and markets may continue to witness extreme volatility in weeks ahead. Aarti Rana's report for DD India.
News from Europe now, and the foreign ministers of the European nations, they've gathered in Luxembourg. And the EU Foreign Ministers Summit has Ukraine, the Middle East, EU-Africa relations and the Western Balkans on the agenda. On Ukraine, the EU foreign ministers, they're expected to discuss contributions to the so-called Kalas plan. It involves spending 5 billion euros on 2 million rounds of large caliber artillery ammunition this year. On the Middle East, the foreign ministers will be focusing on the situation in Gaza as well as in Syria. The EU foreign ministers will also discuss the current situation in the Western Balkans. They're looking for cooperation with the region's countries, and also EU-Africa ties and Sudan's humanitarian crisis are going to be discussed. And this is before the May ministerial between Brussels and the AU, the African Union. There are going to be over 80 AU and EU governments present for that. The conflict in Sudan has forcibly displaced more than 15 million individuals. It's caused one of the world's worst humanitarian crises. The US President Donald Trump has called the Russian missile attack on Ukraine, on the city of Sumy, a horrible thing and a mistake. So this missile attack, which took place on Sunday, killed at least 34 people. It injured 117 others. The attack has been strongly condemned by Kiev's Western allies. The Russian attack came just 2 days after Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, had visited Moscow. This is for talks with the Russian President Vladimir Putin and part of the effort to end this ongoing conflict.
I think it was terrible, and I was told they made a mistake, but I think it's a horrible thing. I think the whole war is a horrible thing. I think the war is, for that war to have started, is an abuse of power. This country would have never allowed that war to have started if I were president. That war is a shame.
The Kremlin had responded to the Sumy attack, saying that Russia's strikes have only been on military targets. The Ukrainian President Zelenskyy on Sunday, he called for a strong international response to Russia's missile strike, as the US President Donald Trump's push to end this conflict continues and it faces hurdles. In an interview to America's CBS News, Zelenskyy urged Trump to witness the real impact of the conflict on civilians, soldiers, hospitals, churches and children before making decisions or entering into negotiations with Moscow. The US President Donald Trump said on Sunday that he expects to make a quick decision on Iran. This follows what both Washington and Tehran have described as positive and constructive nuclear talks that happened in Oman last week. Now, Trump said that he had consulted with his advisors and was weighing the options, reiterating his warning of a possible military action if no agreement is reached to halt Iran's nuclear program. Talks are set to resume later this week. Well, ahead of the second round of talks, of these indirect talks between Iran and the United States, which is slated for the 19th of April, the foreign minister of Iran, Abbas Araghchi, he's going to be visiting Russia this week. And Iran's foreign minister and the US Middle East envoy, Steve Witkoff, they held a first round of talks on Saturday in Muscat. It marks the highest level of Iran-US nuclear negotiations since the collapse of the 2015 accord. The location for the second round of talks is yet to be finalized. The reports are indicating that, Iran wants it to be Geneva, but the US is wanting it to be Rome. That's for the second round of talks. Meanwhile, the UN nuclear watchdog, he's the chief, that is, Rafael Grossi, he said that he's going to be traveling to Tehran this week. He's going to discuss the situation on the country's nuclear program. He adds that diplomatic solutions are urgently needed. In a move that signals the renewed ties between France and Morocco, the French Interior Minister Bruno Retailleau, he has arrived in Rabat for a high-level security meeting with his Moroccan counterpart, Abdel Ouafi Latif, Laftif. And this brief but strategic visit, it's going to focus on strengthening cooperation in key areas such as migration, organized crime, drug trafficking, among other things. And this visit comes on the heels of a diplomatic tour between Paris and Rabat. It follows France's recognition of the Moroccan sovereignty over the Western Sahara, which happened last summer, and also a turning point in the relations that years of strained dialogue had caused, particularly around migration. So South Korea's ousted President Yoon Suk-yeol, he has denied his insurrection charges as the impeached former leader has appeared in a court This is the opening of his criminal trial over martial law declaration. Yoon sought to impose martial law or military rule. This happened in the country when he had ordered the suspension of political activity and the censorship of the media. December 3rd was the date, and the decree had lasted just 6 hours as it had been voted down by the opposition MPs at the time. And he was removed by the Constitutional Court from office earlier this month for violating constitutional powers with actions that were labelled as a serious challenge to democracy. After the hearing, Yoon's lawyers said that they are going to be arguing on the legality of martial law for the remainder of the trial.
Why the president had to declare emergency martial law, which is his constitutional authority. If the legality of the emergency martial law is recognized, as the prosecutors are now seeing this as insurrection, we believe it can be proven that this doesn't have to be regarded as a crime in the first place.
Sudan's paramilitary force, the Rapid Support Forces, they have claimed taking control over the famine-hit Zamzam camp, which is in western Darfur, following 2 days of heavy shelling and gunfire. Activists in El Fashir, North Darfur, say that the RSF attacks on Zamzam camp had killed at least 46 people, including women and children. Many victims remain unidentified. Zamzam is home to over 500,000 refugees. It has been badly affected by the conflict between Sudan's army and RSF. Internet and communication issues make it hard to access and to assess the full damage. So what's happened is that the RSF has denied targeting the civilians. They accuse the army of doing so, of using the camp as a base and using the civilians as shields. The Chinese President Xi Jinping is in Vietnam. He marks the start of a three-nation Southeast Asia trip. And during this visit, Xi Jinping and Vietnam's Communist Party General Secretary To Lam, they signed numerous cooperation agreements on the production, supply chains, as well on railways. This comes at a time when Vietnam is seeking tariff reductions from the United States. They have a 46% slab, and China faces higher tariffs of 145%. So Xi is going to be traveling after this to Malaysia and Cambodia. And he has called for stronger cooperation in the emerging sectors and regional initiatives which stress on importance of collaboration. This is to inject what he calls more stability into this region, more positive energy. He calls it a chaotic and intertwined world. The US pop star Katy Perry and 5 other women were launched to the edge of space in a fully automated rocket, which is owned by the billionaire Jeff Bezos. The all-female team was lofted more than 100 kilometers above the Earth's surface to a vessel from Blue Origin, which is the space company owned by Bezos. The 5 other women, including Bezos' fiancée, Lauren Sanchez, also joined the flight. Now, after the rocket had reached the edge of space, the crew capsule had detached mid-flight and they returned to the ground, which was slowed by the parachutes and then the rocket in a retro rocket also. So Monday's mission, it marked the first all-women space crew since Valentina Tereshkova's historic solo flight. That happened way back in 1963. Daniel Noboa has claimed victory in Ecuador's presidential election. The country's election authority had declared him the winner after the 37-year-old had defeated the leftist rival by a larger than expected margin. Supporters of the president celebrated in Quito's streets. This is as he secured the victory in the presidential runoff. Now, with 90% of the votes which were counted when reports last came in, the National Election Council had announced that Noboa had an unassailable lead over his charismatic leftist rival, Luisa Gonzalez. But Noboa had stated that there was no doubt about this victory. He thanked his supporters. He pledged to continue his efforts to combat drug gangs, to revive the struggling economy as well.
El Ecuador está cambiando.
Ecuador is changing. Ecuador has already chosen a different path, and with that path, our children will live better than we did. It will ensure that future generations have a more dignified life, a more just life, a more transparent life, a more transparent government, more transparent institutions, and progress, planning, and projection. which unfortunately in past years some were unable to achieve and even chose to leave this country to seek their fortune elsewhere.
Suerte en otro lado.
The United States has deported 10 individuals who have been alleged, who are alleged members of the El Salvador gangs. So this is ahead of the President Nayib Bukele's visit to the White House, in fact, on Monday. The Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, announced the deportation, stating that these individuals, they are part of MS-13 and Tren de Aragua gangs, which the U.S. has designated as foreign terrorist organizations. And this move is part of a broader effort by the Trump administration to deport hundreds of Venezuelans to El Salvador under the 1798 Alien Enemies Act. The administration officials have repeatedly made public statements alleging that the detained immigrants are gang members and that they have in fact, what media says, that they have not really backed up this in court. Now, still to come here on DD India. Prime Minister Modi flags off a commercial flight from Hisar to Ayodhya. India celebrates the 135th birth anniversary of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. He was the architect of India's constitution.
आज तो पार्टी चाहिए। चैंपियन के साथ सेल्फी लेंगे।
आइडिया, यही करते हैं पार्टी।
पिज्जा पार्टी। ये चल अपना कार्ड और पिन दे।
मेरे कार्ड की डिटेल्स मैं खुद ही डालूंगी। आरबीआई कहता है अपना पिन, ओटीपी, सीवीवी या इंटरनेट बैंकिंग पासवर्ड किसी के साथ शेयर ना करें। ऑनलाइन बैंकिंग सिर्फ अपने कंप्यूटर, मोबाइल और सिक्योर नेटवर्क से करें।
बाय गर्ल्स, कहाँ जा रही है? सुना नहीं? नो शेयरिंग।
आरबीआई कहता है जानकार बनिए, सतर्क रहिए।
You're watching DD India Live. I'm Mark Lynn. The fugitive businessman Mehul Choksi has been arrested in Belgium on India's extradition request for his role in the Punjab National Bank loan fraud case. A development that comes weeks after media reports had confirmed that the businessman has been living in the country's Antwerp city with his wife after they had obtained a residency card. Now, the Indian agencies, which is the Enforcement Directorate and also the Central Bureau of Investigation, they had moved for his extradition from Belgium. And India's Union Finance Minister, the Minister of State for Finance, that's Pankaj Chaudhary, he said that this arrest is significant because it shows that those who stole money from India have been brought back to justice.
मोदी जी ने जो पहले ही कहा कि गरीबों का पैसा जिन जिन लोगों ने खाया है उसको वापस करना होगा और देश में सभी के खिलाफ कार्रवाई चल रहा है। मेहुल चोक्सी पकड़ा गया है, निश्चित तौर से बहुत बड़ी सफलता है।
In line with his commitment to boost infrastructure and connectivity, Prime Minister Narendra Modi laid the foundation stone of a new airport. It's a terminal building, a new airport terminal building at Hisar in Haryana. He also flagged off the first ever commercial flight from Hisar in Haryana to Ayodhya in Uttar Pradesh. The Prime Minister said that the inauguration of the Hisar airport marks a significant milestone in the state's development journey. He said that it would boost regional connectivity and catalyze economic growth across the state.
जितने नए जहाज आएंगे उतनी ही ज्यादा नौकरियां पायलट के रूप में हो, एयर होस्टेस के रूप में हो, सैकड़ों नई सेवाएं भी होती है। एक जगह हवाई जहाज चलता है तब ग्राउंड स्टाफ होता है, न जाने कितने काम होता है। ऐसी अनेक सेवाओं के लिए नौजवानों को रोजगार के अवसर मिलेंगे। इतना ही नहीं, हवाई जहाज के मेंटेनेंस से जुड़ा एक बड़ा सेक्टर भी अनगिनत रोजगार बनाएगा। हिसार का ये एयरपोर्ट भी हरियाणा के नौजवानों के सपनों को नई ऊंचाई देगा। साथियों, हमारी सरकार एक तरफ कनेक्टिविटी पर बल दे रही है, दूसरी तरफ गरीब कल्याण और सामाजिक न्याय भी सुनिश्चित कर रही है.
The Prime Minister inaugurated and laid the foundation stone of several development projects in Yamunanagar in the state, including an 800 megawatt unit of the Deen Bandhu Chotu Ram thermal power plant and a compressed biogas plant. He also inaugurated the Rewari bypass, which was built as part of the Bharat Mala Pariyojana. This is an ambitious project which focuses on improving India's highway network. The nation is paying homage to B.R. Ambedkar, the chief architect of India's constitution, on his birth anniversary on Monday. President Draupadi Murmu, Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla paid floral tributes at the Ambedkar statue at Parliament House. Tributes Tributes were also paid to B.R. Ambedkar in the Central Hall of Parliament. Lawmakers from both houses of Parliament paid homage to the architect of India's constitution. They remembered his struggle for economic and social rights of women and the deprived classes. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar donned many hats. He was a social reformer, an economist, and a politician who dedicated his life for the people of the country. Baba Saheb, as he was affectionately known, was awarded India's highest civilian honor, the Bharat Ratna, posthumously in 1990. Sujata Lochab reports.
Today we commemorate Ambedkar Jayanti, honoring the legacy of Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar, a pivotal figure in India's history and the principal architect of the Indian Constitution. Born on April 14, 1891, in Mehul, Madhya Pradesh, Ambedkar faced caste-based discrimination from an early age. Despite these challenges, he excelled academically. Ambedkar attended the government school in Mumbai and later pursued higher education at Columbia University in the United States, where he earned his PhD. His academic achievements laid the foundation for his future endeavors in law and social reform. Ambedkar's career was marked by his relentless fight against caste discrimination. He formed the Labour Party and served as the chairman of the Constitution Committee, playing a crucial role in drafting the Indian Constitution, which emphasized fundamental rights and minority protections. Ambedkar famously described Article 32 as the heart and soul of the Constitution, ensuring that citizens could seek justice in the Supreme Court. His vision extended beyond politics. He advocated for the elimination of untouchability and the caste system, believing that true progress could only be achieved through social justice. This laid the groundwork for a more equitable India, allowing citizens to pursue their dreams without the shackles of discrimination. In 1956, Ambedkar embraced Buddhism, symbolizing his rejection of the caste system and his commitment to equality and fraternity. Posthumously awarded the Bharat Ratna in 1990, Dr. Ambedkar's teachings on democracy and human rights continue to inspire millions today. Sujata Lochab for DD India.
And Nepal has welcomed Bikram Samvat. This is 2082, Bikram Samvat 2082. It's done so with excitement. Celebrations on Monday. This is a new year and a public holiday, and it saw people across the country visiting holy places. They were praying, enjoying picnics. They joined in the fun activities in Dholka, which is a lively street festival. It was filled with music as well as dance. It marked the occasion in Shailung. Over 25,000 visitors had gathered at the Shailungeshwar Mahadev temple for the Koti Home Yagya. And also big hotels, tourist spots, restaurants, they were They were there with people in large numbers offering special deals, because they were attracting crowds to celebrate what's an auspicious day for them, the Happy New Year. Time now for the sports news, and the torches that will carry the Olympic flame for the 2026 Winter Games and Paralympics were unveiled in a dual event in Milan and Osaka on Monday. It's made from recycled aluminium. These torches have been styled in two different versions. Blue, this is for the Olympics, and bronze for the Paralympics. The former cross-country skier Stefania and the Paralympic fencing star Bebe Vio, they unveiled these torches. This happened at the theatre in Milan. Now, Milan and the town of Cortino di Ampezzo, they are the main hosts of these games. They're going to run from February 6 to February 22 in the year 2026. India's Manika Batra and Shrija Akula, they made a winning start to the ITTF World Cup campaign in Macau. Drawn in the Group 16 of the women's singles, Batra, she had a comfortable start to this tournament. She took down Girette Melis of France 4-0 in just 18 minutes. Now, Batra was dominating throughout. She won the match in straight games. Meanwhile, Akula had got the better of Konstantina Figiosh. This happened 3-1 in the women's singles in Group 9. Manika and Shrija, they are now the only two women in the tournament. In fact, they are the only two women in the tournament because no Indian male paddler had qualified for this table tennis event. Well, that's the sum and substance on DD India Live. Thanks for watching. And you can let us know your thoughts. Also, for those of you on the go, get the latest news and updates. Here's the DD India mobile app. Scan the QR code, download it. Available in iOS and also Android platforms. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. My name is Mark Lynn. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.